Hello and welcome to Beyond Mount Rushmore, the history you didn't know you needed. I am Jeff Hickox, and across from me is my buddy Stan Nawalonic, self-proclaimed presidential historian.
Hi, everybody. Hi. How you doing? You all right? You having a good day today?
I'm doing actually, I'm having a good day today.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
How about yourself?
You don't seem too edgy.
Well, I only had one cup of coffee today, so I'm doing okay.
All right,
And no Coke Zero.
Good. I saw you got some Fresca.
Yeah, love that Fresca.
I love a Fresca. Who are we talking about today?
That is your
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's see. In the previous episodes, we talked about James Garfield, who was assassinated, but didn't really die from the assassin's bullet. He died from infection.
He was more assassinated by his doctor.
Then we had his vice president, who became president, Chester A. Arthur, who we don't know where he was born, and we don't know much about him because he burned all his papers.
He could have been corrupt, but he may have had a second thought on that and been uncorrupt. Who knows?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Nobody will know.
No.
Today, we're going to take a look at another president that was assassinated in office.
Okay.
And probably should not have died. We're talking about our 25th president, William McKinley.
Mount McKinley.
Let's name, what was it, Denali? And it was McKinley, then Denali, and now back to McKinley.
It is. Speaking of, because President Trump renamed it Mount McKinley, McKinley was a tariff guy like President Trump.
Yes, he was. He believed in tariffs. And for those of you, because that's been in the news a lot lately about tariffs.
Yeah.
Before Woodrow Wilson, we did not have a United States income tax.
Correct.
We got all of our money from tariffs.
Tariffs are not a bad thing.
They're not a bad thing.
Well, they haven't been in history. Let's see what happens in the future.
But McKinley, let's talk a little bit about him before we get into the strange and bizarre.
Yeah. Did you know that he is the first president to ever have his inauguration filmed?
Oh, yeah, I do. And he was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first presidents to actually have his voice recorded.
Really?
You want to hear what he sounded like?
I would love to.
I, fellow citizens, recent events have imposed upon the patriotic people of this country a responsibility and a duty greater than that of any since the Civil War. Then it was a struggle to preserve the government of the United States. Now it is a struggle to preserve the financial honor of the government. Our breed embraces an honest dollar, an untarnished national credit, adequate revenues for the uses of the government, protection to labor and industry, preservation of the home market, and reciprocity which will extend our foreign market. Upon this platform we stand and submit its declaration to the sober and considerate judgment of the American people.
So that was about tariffs. That was protectionism right there.
And that was William McKinley. And I'm surprised you actually listened to it. I didn't hear
It's
it.
very hard to listen to.
Very early, primitive stuff.
And the way he speaks is kind of
Very
funny.
proper.
Yeah.
He was from Ohio.
Yeah, remember that the show MASH? It reminded me of the guy from Boston who spoke really
Winchester.
Winchester, yeah.
Let me tell you. But when you hear him speaking so proper,
Right? Not so proper.
oh, he was.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a clean freak.
Really?
Back in those days, again, and I think we've discussed this in a previous podcast. Cleanliness wasn't next to godliness.
No, I think Garfield can attest to that.
He realized that we don't have washing machines like we have now. Right. We don't. He would change, immaculately dressed, and he would change up to 4 to 5 times a day. So that if he was greeting people and saying, well, sir, thank you, and his vest was a little wrinkled or he started sweating in his starched shirt, he would change. And they said he would go through clothes about 4 or 5 times a day. just to freshen up a little bit.
He was Taylor Swift before Taylor Swift.
And, yes, yeah. And loved the attention. He loved being around people. He loved the handshaking, the backslapping, the small talk. Loved that
Like
stuff.
a social butterfly kind of
Yes.
guy?
Oh, very much so. And he had it down to a science. If there was a greeting line at the White House or if he was at some reception, he had the trick of getting as many people to meet him as possible, because when he would reach out to shake your hand, he'd pull you into him and then with his other hand push you along to get to the other person.
Right.
So he'd shake, pull, and push and move you along just so he could greet as many people as he possibly
That's
could.
so funny.
Which, incidentally, may have been his downfall when he was assassinated. But I'll get to that in a second. And the aftermath of that, you brought up Mount McKinley.
I did.
If you go into Ohio where he's buried, there's a mountain there as well, pretty darn close. It's a man-made mountain, and it's his tomb.
Oh.
You have probably never seen a presidential tomb like this.
Really?
Yeah. Look at, again, another thing for our Facebook page where we can go and post McKinley's tomb.
Yeah.
And remember in the movie Rocky, where he's going up the steps in Philadelphia up there and gonna fly now?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I think McKinley's tomb has as many steps.
No.
You gotta look at the picture of it.
I definitely want to.
Oh, by the way, another little tidbit about him before we get into what happened to him, because I have a few fun facts.
Okay.
He's on a $500 bill.
Is he?
He is if you were lucky.
I've never seen one, so
we can post that on our Facebook page. A picture of the $500 bill, and that's William McKinley.
And speaking of $500 or money, his campaign in 1900 was the first $1 million campaign in presidential history.
There you go.
Yeah.
So be on a big bill because he a lot of money.
He spent a lot of them.
He was president of the United States during the Spanish-American War and the sinking of the Maine. Oh. Which caused us to be fighting for get the Spanish out of Cuba so we could control it. Before the sinking of the Maine, which is corrupt to begin with, and Spanish didn't sink it, we sank it to cause the war.
Oh, boy.
A whole other story. But they, previous to the Spanish-American War and the sinking of the Maine, they thought William McKinley was a softy, weak on war and all that. And when, things, come on, McKinley, step up and do something. The Maine sinks and he becomes beloved. He's a tough guy. He's doing the right thing. He's not a softy as far as conflict is concerned.
Like a strong president in this country. We really do.
Yep. And we'll get into that also later on in this series and you and I have discussed before, when the country says enough's enough and we need a general.
Right. We actually have had that conversation. We will again on tape.
So William McKinley, again, loves to be shaking hands and backslapping, is at the Pan American Expo in Buffalo, New York in 1901.
Okay.
And he is at the Hall of Music for the expo, where just the day before, John Philip Sousa and his band was playing.
No way.
Following day.
That's so crazy.
William McKinley is greeting everybody at the Pan American Expo. In line to greet the president. Yeah. And again, he loved this stuff, immaculately dressed.
Right.
And bringing people through the line. He was
in his element.
Oh, towing them right through. He comes up to a guy, a Polish anarchist. Now, we were coming out of a depression at the time. A financial difficulty at the time. People were starting to get work again, but there were still a lot of people that were workers that weren't getting what they wanted.
And what they wanted pay-wise?
Pay-wise, gotcha. Work-wise, and thus the rise of anarchists. And he was one of them. This guy. Polish immigrant. His name, Leon Czolgosz. And if you look at the way it's spelled, it's not how it sounded, but it's pronounced Leon Czolgosz.
Okay, Czolgosz.
And he was at the expo, and he wanted to greet the President of the United States. And he had one hand free and another, and I've heard various different reports. He either had his right hand in a handkerchief or he had his right hand in a newspaper.
Okay.
But he was going through the receiving line at the expo, the Pan American Expo in the Hall of Music. Mm-hmm. Tons of people.
Right.
He had a small caliber gun wrapped up in that, let's just say, a newspaper.
Sure.
He reaches out. McKinley reaches out to shake his hand.
Push him in or pull him in and move him along.
But the assassin, Leon Czolgosz, pulled the trigger. And I believe there were 2 shots fired. One hit him. McKinley kept his wits about him and stayed conscious as everybody around, security that was there, witnesses that were there, began to beat the living crud out of the assassin, Leon Czolgosz.
Czolgosz. I'm going to forget that name. But
McKinley went down, looked at his fancy suit there and saw that there was blood, asked for a chair to sit down in a chair.
Yeah.
And he's continuing to have a conversation. He's telling everybody, go easy on the guy. Don't hurt him. It's okay. Find out what's going on. Don't kill the man. Get him arrested. But he was sitting in a chair having a discussion. And everybody's thinking, thank God the president is still alive. He's going to be all right.
Because he's acting like he's going to be all right. So, again, I hate to bring this up, but I did this 2 episodes ago. No Secret Service.
No, not as we know it. And I'll bring it up right now.
Okay.
With his death, Teddy Roosevelt became the president of the United States. He became the 26th president. That is the first time that Secret Service protected a president around the clock.
And that was with Teddy his
Roosevelt.
vice president?
Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Lincoln is assassinated. Garfield is assassinated.
Yeah.
McKinley is assassinated.
And finally.
Because the Secret Service was to stop counterfeiters.
Right.
That wasn't supposed to be to protect the president. Don't worry, we'll have local security handle this. We have a little detail to be with the president, make sure nothing happens. No Secret Service, no running up alongside the limo, no people with the headsets on. Stop, no.
Crazy.
And we're able to walk right up to him.
Yeah. So he's sitting in this chair.
Saying, go easy on the guy, and then they go and take him to the hospital.
Okay.
Where he's in the hospital. We have to understand there was no penicillin.
So this is 20 years after Garfield, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Roughly. Okay. 1881, and this is 1901.
Yeah.
There's no penicillin. There's sulfur drugs and stuff that they can go to treat the wound. You go back to those times, they relied more on amputation than, everything's going to be fine. They're learning about antiseptics and cleaning the wound and stuff, but there's nothing like a good dose of penicillin to get an infection, and they didn't have that for McKinley.
Huh.
And so he lingers, and there's daily reports going out. By the way, America was glued because he was so popular.
And they're not sticking dirty hands into his wound, right? This is not like it was in 1881.
But there's nothing to stop a bad infection.
I got you.
And people, there are newspaper reports. People are following this with every inch of newswire that comes down. He's actually improving. Yeah. McKinley said this, and his doctor said he's improving. He's doing well. He had a meal. he died from gangrene.
Wow.
The wound became so infected, he had sepsis and died from infection, gangrene.
Another president dying from infection.
Yeah, but you know,
The president.
I know, and now they would get the best health care that would be imaginable.
That's the best?
And that's the best. Can you imagine the amount of people in this country back in those times that were dying from simple things like strep throat?
Man, that's why people had 12 kids.
You're absolutely correct. But he died because of gangrene.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
he dies. Teddy becomes president. He's got 24/7 Secret Service protection.
Right.
By the way, he had an assassination attempt on him. Was actually hit by a bullet, but it was deflected, I think, by a wallet or something he had in his pocket.
Jeez.
And he did a whole speech with a bullet wound. But that's another show.
That's another story. Another show.
You have heard me talk about Thomas Edison.
You're one of your favorite people.
The guy was a fraud, but he was one of the best self-promoters there ever was.
Yeah.
McKinley's assassin, Czolgosz, there were no long, drawn-out appeals. There was no, protesting of signs outside, save the man, he did the right thing, and like you would see today.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting into any details.
Right.
But there was a recent study done that 51% of liberal Democrats believe that Donald Trump getting assassinated is justifiable.
Well,
that is so scary. But
it is.
it wasn't like that then.
Right.
He was quickly convicted and sentenced to death.
Hung?
No. This is where the fraud Thomas Edison comes in.
Oh, no.
Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla fought tooth and nail. It was really Westinghouse. Tesla worked for Westinghouse, but it was direct current versus alternating current.
Correct.
And Edison, who had the patent on direct current, tried to slander Westinghouse and Tesla that alternating current is dangerous and can kill you. Mm-hmm. And he was a very spiteful and jealous man. And the electric chair, which was just starting to be used in some states, used alternating current.
Right.
Oh. By the way, if you want to read what I'm talking about, you think, oh, Stan, you're full of crap, read Edison and the Electric Chair. Okay. There's a book out, Edison and the Electric Chair. We'll even have it on our Facebook page.
There you go.
Edison and the Electric Chair. But Edison had some newfangled stuff called motion pictures.
Right.
And he hated that alternating current, which was being used in electric chairs. So Czolgosz is executed in the electric chair and dies, obviously executed to death. Edison, wanting to capitalize on this for the newsreels in the Flickr shows, said, let's recreate it. Can we? I've got my motion picture camera.
How do you recreate?
You know what? That's on our Facebook page, too. Check any YouTube, and you can get that down and watch it.
Okay.
They get actors, an actor, and some security guys to march a guy out and put him in an electric chair and throw the switch on him with all the acting of the eyes bugging out and everything to reenact the killing, the execution of Czolgosz. He actually, on Edison film,
You got to be kidding me.
Reenacted his execution in that horrible, deadly Tesla Westinghouse electric chair.
This is how deadly alternating current is.
Yeah.
That's why we should be using my direct current.
Yep.
Gotcha.
What an idiot. What an idiot. I don't even want to. This show's not about Edison.
We could probably do a lot of shows about Edison if I let you loose.
But to talk about two Mount McKinleys, to put a bow on this and put it to rest, it has been written because McKinley is, again, another one of these forgotten presidents. We knew he was but what did he do? The only way that it can be likened to, from what I've read, is the JFK assassination, when the entire country mourned the death of a beloved president.
Walter Cronkite cried on TV.
Yeah. They loved William McKinley.
Wow.
He was such a popular president. The whole nation mourned. And the state of Ohio said, we cannot let this go and this day be forgotten. And they built the library and tomb in Canton, Ohio, where it's the McKinley Library.
Right.
And his tomb, which looks like a monument to a king. And inside the tomb is the coffins of McKinley and his wife, entombed in the room on top, lying together in this palatial giant. And people said,
and you can go inside.
You can go inside. And it was joked around that when Mount McKinley in Alaska was there, which is back,
right,
there are 2 Mount McKinleys.
So that's incredible. I can't wait to see the picture of that. So he was endeared or beloved by the country because of the Spanish-American War.
That got him into popularity. Yes,
getting
it did.
the Spanish out of Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
President Kennedy was also known for getting Russia out of Cuba.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Beyond Mount Rushmore, the history you didn't know you needed.
That's right.
Thanks for the input there, Stan.
When we meet again, and I was thinking about who are we going to talk about next? Yeah. We're all familiar. A president that we're more familiar with.
Okay.
Andrew Jackson.
Oh, nice.
Now, Andrew Jackson, we're not necessarily going to talk about him, although he took great offense to it. Is he a bigamist?
Ooh.
Did he marry somebody who was married? And what kind of woman was she? She might have been a whore.
Oh, not that word.
All right, so
we'll find out next episode.
That's right.
All right.
See you later.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Hickox. This is Stan Now-Alonic.
Hi, and remember you can find us on our Facebook page. What is it?
That's called Beyond Mount Rushmore.
Thank you. We'll see you.